begin.
Selamünaleyküm. Hammaga hoş geldinglar. Uyghur Xitay Halkara Tor Münazara yig'iniga hoş geldinglar. 欢迎大家参加维吾尔汉族国际网络视频研讨会。Millet ve dini mesele hazırda dünyanınki en qiyin bir mesele. Bu meseleni yalnızla o devletlerimiz şundakla rayon karakterlik ve halkara karakterlik bir meseleye aylandı. Bu meseleden keçip bir yerge biriş ve qiyin buluyordu. Şunlaşka bu meseleye ciddi karaş lazım. 民族和宗教问题是当今世界上比较棘手的问题。这个问题不仅影响到当事国的问题，也影响到地区和这个国际和全球的这个事务。逃避和掩盖这个问题已经没有出路了，所以要正视这个问题。Bugün herkes bile bir yerde bir yığında Uyghur Xitay meselesini münazara qilish ve şundaqla bu meseleye qarta bazı çarelerini ve çıkış yolunu izleş bu tarihi bir terakkiyat ve şundaqla kıymetli bir mesele. Bunun için herkes bunun için vakit haşlab, enerji sərf qılıb bu yığına qatnaşı, yani şundaqla bularınki bir mesuliyeti ve şundaqla tarih ekişini özgertişinki bir kararıyla bunun qatnaşqan buldu. Bu normal bir adamlarının qılalaydıgan iş emas. Şunlaşqa bugün herkesle birlikte tarihte şahitlik olumuz ve bunun için xursand bulumuz. Çok rahmet. 当今今天有幸跟各位欢聚一起讨论维汉关系正式期间的分歧和现实存在的问题，以及寻求解决办法和出路，实在是难能可贵的历史性的一件大事。大家为此花费时间和精力，也是诸位出于现实感以及拥有改写历史进程的这个决心。这也是常人不能所及之事，因此呢，今天与各位一起见证这个历史，实感荣幸。谢谢大家。廖女士，
谢谢。今天我们在这里举行这一场维吾尔族汉族国际视频研讨会，得到民进电视台的大力支持。能够有现场转播，十分感谢。今天的这一场会议确实是人文荟萃，有各个地方的各大洲的这个贵宾参加并且发言，比如说源自澳洲、日本、台湾、美国和欧洲各个国家。那么，我想非常重要的是。这一次有很多维吾尔的朋友们参加，比如说，因为是作为主办的单位是世界维吾尔大会，那么我们有世维会的主席多里坤先生，而且刚才主持会议的这个 Engin 先生呢，他也是世维会的副主席，同时呢，世维会里面的各个部门的负责人很多都能够参加，同时会发言，我觉得非常的高兴。另外的话呢，我们中国方面，就是中国华人方面呢，也有很多这个知识界的学者、媒体人，还有这个人权活动家参加。我想这确实是一个盛事，特别高兴，而且很难得的是这一次有很多的政治家参加，比如说台湾驻德国的大使谢志伟博士，日本的前经济产业副大臣牧野圣修，他是我们的老朋友，他一直是支持这个中国的民主事业的，他也会参加。那么他是会有以视频的方式发言，同时呢，还有台湾的2位立法会的这个议员参加，同时也有欧盟的议员，还有特别高兴的是英国的这个 英国议会的会员这个甘妮女士，她是非常重要的一个人物，待会儿各位就知道了。那么有这么多人参加，同时还有一些西方的人士和团体，所以可见这一次的会议得到很多人的支持。那么最近的2020年世界人权报告里面提出来，中共在新疆，其实我们的维吾尔朋友更愿意说东土耳其斯坦，在那个地方实行的是这个人权的灾难。事实上，中共对于这个异族人民的这种压制已经不是新鲜的事情，连对同文同种的香港，他即使是对同文同种的，即使对同文同种的香港，他也是进行打压，实行了这个所谓的港区国安法。那么对于台湾更是军机军舰绕台威逼，这些种种行为构成的，事实上都是让人绝对不能够接受的。我们今天在21世纪还面临这种威胁，这是不可以接受的。那么大家也知道，美国和加拿大还有这个荷兰最近还加入了英国，都宣称在这个东土耳其斯坦发生的事情是一种种族绝灭 genocide 这个词。那么这个词我觉得用得非常的准确。那么现在我为了要向我们的西方的朋友表示欢迎，我稍微用英文说一下。I would like to welcome all the participants, especially the speakers of today's Zoom conference. It is indeed an international gathering. We have guests from Australia, Japan, Taiwan, United States, and European countries. Deep thanks to Minjing TV for conducting and sending the whole meeting simultaneously on YouTube. And followed the United States, Canada, and Netherlands, United Kingdom has also passed a resolution on April 22nd to name China's strategy in East Turkestan as genocide. And we have to thank especially to Nusrat Ghani. She is the initiator of this resolution, and she will join us today. The world will not allow this anti-humanity act happen in the 21st century. We, Han Chinese, will not allow the Xi Jinping administration commit the crime under the name of the Chinese people. Now we will start our conference. 好，现在 Eklin 请你主持会议，我们可以开始发言。Eklin 也要打开你的麦克风。
好，谢谢。下面第一位发言人是世界维吾尔大会主席以及这个无代表国家和民族组织的副主席Dolkun Isa. Dolkun Isa Dünya Uyghur Kurultayı'nın reisi, şundakla ONPO'nun reisi. Hazır Dolkun'u davet kılınız. 现在请Dolkun发言。Buyurun.
Assalamu alaikum aziz yurttaşlar, Şarkı Türkistanlık aziz qarindoshlar, Uyghur Xitoy xalqarалық tur yig'iniga xush keldinglar. Bugun qimmatli mehmonlarimiz bor, chet ellik mutaxassislar bor, parlament a'zolari bor, Xitoy demokratik harakatininki rahbarlari bor. Qimmatli so'zlar bo'ladi. Shuning bugun qatnashganlar uchun ko'p rahmat. 大家好。我这边有很多那个老外的朋友们要参加了，所以就我说在英文讲话。Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for participating in this very important event. With the World Uyghur Congress is grateful to co-host, particularly I thank Mr. Liu Tianqi, Pen Yongzhong, Wu Kashi, and the WUC spokesperson Dilshad, or Vice President Erkin Ekrem, coordinately organizes this event. And I also like to thank dear friends Nusrat Ghani to joining us today. It is a great honor to us. As you all know, Thursday, just 3 days ago, UK Parliament recognized the Uyghur genocide. Mr. Ghani did amazing job. She leads this initiative. That's why I would like to thanks again at the beginning. It is very encouraging to see Chinese human rights defenders and the Chinese democracy activists together with Uyghur activists to collectively address ongoing Uyghur genocide today. The Chinese Communist Party horrific human rights abuses that target Uyghurs, Tibet, Southern Mongolian, Hong Kongers, Taiwanese, and the Chinese human rights defender and the democracy activists have brought us all together. We must stand each other in a solidarity and a cooperation to collectively address this horrific situation that affect us all. The current situation of the Uyghur people is dire. The Uyghurs are suffering incredible as the action of the Chinese government has put the very existence of Uyghur people under threat. In the last 5 years alone, Chinese government has subjected the Uyghur people in East Turkestan to mass arbitrary detention of over 3 million innocent Uyghur in concentration camp, the largest such a detention since the Second World War. Mass sterilization of Uyghur women and other forced prevention measures in order to diminish Uyghur population. Forced labor and the modern slavery of the hundreds of thousands of Uyghurs. Attempt to destroy unique Uyghur identity and the possible assimilate the Uyghur people into Han-centric China. Destruction of the physical representation of the Uyghur identity, including thousands of mosques, graveyards, and the other sites of the religious, cultural, and historical importance to the Uyghur people. Ban on the use of Uyghur language is many school and public space. Several religious persecution, including ban on growing of long beard, wearing an Islamic veil, or even owning a Quran. Separating Uyghur children from their parents who are detention camp to indoctrinate them to be loyal to the Chinese Communist Party and forsake their Uyghur identity. Harassment and the punishment of the Uyghur diaspora and everyone who dare speak out. All this has taken place in the last 5 years alone. In this genocide, everything that unique about the Uyghur people is under attack. All language, culture, religion, history, and the ethnic identity. Chinese communist government is fragmenting our society, imprisoning and disappearing prominent Uyghur and cutting the social ties between us. CCP is indoctrinating the young generation to forsake their ethnicity, religion, and cultural, and to only to be loyalty to CCPs. By trying to drastically reduce the Uyghur birth rate, Chinese government is trying to destroy us physically. However, many people are under threat of the CCP, not only Uyghur, Tibetan, Mongol, Hong Kongers people, but also other Chinese citizens who dare speak out against the Chinese horrific human rights records. We all have experienced varying degrees and repression for decades. For years, we have been stuck in the feedback loop of repression. Atrocity against one of us are then imposed on the others. So the Mongolian were among the first to experience the sort of cultural genocide that Uyghur and the Tibetan are now experiencing. no language ban. First test on the Uyghur and the Tibetan are being used against Southern Mongolia by Chinese government. Current CCP party secretary of Turkestan, Xinjiang, first test his repressive security measure to quash Tibetan dissent and now uses this technique on the Uyghur. No repressive security as surveillance technology tested on the Uyghurs in being exported to Hong Kong, Tibet, and around the world. Forced labor camp and the political indoctrination used against Uyghur are now being forced on those Tibetan people. All repression is linked and overlapping. Many Chinese human rights defenders have suffered similar fates, as they are unlikely many others. From the courage to stand up for the right of the community or for border human rights in China. The Chinese Communist Party atrocity have intertwined the fates of the people. Therefore, we must stand beside each other and fight together to stop this genocide. What is happening to the Uyghur, Kazakh, and other people is already spreading around the world. The Chinese government and its partner country are undermining the concept of the human rights in the United Nations and challenging all international order. Today, global democracy, human rights are threatened by the CCP. CCP harassed and intimidated Uyghur, Tibetan, Hong Kongers, and the Chinese human rights defenders, even outside of China. It is continue to exert its influence over the United Nations borders and institutions. If we and the wider international community fail to act, the Uyghur, Tibet, Hong Kong, Southern Mongolia, and everyone who wants to rights and freedom will be continue suffer from the CCP persecution, from the CCP persecution. It is a time to stop Uyghur genocide. It is a time to stop China's state terrorism. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Dolkun's speech. I think it's not necessary to translate it into Chinese. I think most of the people understand English. So our next speaker will be Ms. Nusrat Ghani. She is the parliament member of the United Kingdoms. Ms. Ghani, please, you have the floor.
Good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum.
我们的认知和我们认同的理念。下面一位事实上是一个视频，那么是日本的政治家、前日本经济产业副大臣牧野圣修 Makino Seisu 先生。那么他也是发来一个视频，现在我请导播把这个视频先上去，上去之后他给我们一个信号，就请王敬忠先生把中文的翻译读出来。我们稍微等待一下下。
こんにちは、牧野誠秀です。今日は素晴らしい会をお開きいただいて誠にありがとうございます。今、全世界の各国でウイグルに対する関心が高まり、そしてウイグル支援の力が非常に強くなり広がっております。これは素晴らしいことだなと私は喜んでおります。それはウイグルの関係の皆さん、あるいはドイツの方の皆さん、トルコの方の皆さん、アメリカの皆さん、ヨーロッパのすべての皆さん、そして日本を含め、ウイグルを応援をして、ウイグルに今行われている民族同化、あるいは人権弾圧、そしてジェノサイド、そういったものを何としてでもやめさせなければならない、そういう思いが高まってきているわけで、非常に素晴らしいことだと思っております。これも大勢の皆さんが各国で、世界の各国で国の政治、あるいは政府、政治家に対して運動をしている結果だと思っております。私どもも日本で一生懸命さらにウイグル支援の力を 盛り上げていきたい、このように思っております。しかし、本当は最終的な目標は、ウイグルがもう一度独立を取り戻し、ウイグルの皆さんの考え方による宗教を大切にした新しい国家を作って、そしてみんなで平和な世界に貢献できるような、そういう国を取り戻していきたい。これが本当の目的だと思います。1989年の天安門事件の時に、世界は中国に対する対応を私は間違えたと思います。あの時、世界はみんなで協力して中国の民主化に進める努力をもっともっとすればよかったんでありますが、あの時、どちらかというと、日本を考え方に行ってしまったので、中国の民主化がおろそかになってしまったと
宗教对世界和平有贡献的新国家。1989年天安门事件后，我们对中国的对策是错误的。如果当时世界各国一致努力使中国实现民主化，现在可能就是另一个结果。可惜，当时以日本为首的各国与中国进行国民往来，经济优先，以致中国民主化倒退，以致造成今天的中国给全世界带来人权迫害、和平问题、霸权主义等祸害。我们要认真反省这段历史，认识到必须促使中国成为民主主义国家。我曾经讲过，维吾尔人权的问题是维吾尔人自己解决不了的，需要包括西藏人、南蒙古人、香港人、台湾人以及我们在内的大家共同努力应对中国民主化与人权问题。不能忘记，在中国大陆内有许许多多的各民族的追求自由民主的人们，为了他们，世界各国更需要团结，为促使中国早日实现民主化而战斗。维吾尔人是非常正直、有信仰的，全世界各国应该继续全力支持他们。我在日本将与大家共同努力支持维吾尔。谢谢各位，牧野圣修。
这位发言人Devlet， 郭尔凯西，请。
谢谢各位。我今天来参加这个会议有我至少三个身份啊。第一个身份，我是中国民主运动的这个89年中国民主运动的代表。第二个身份是这个台湾的立法院人权促进会的执行副秘书长。刚刚两位这个立法委员赖香伶女士是我们的副会长，林楚茵委员是我们的会员，也是台湾国会维吾尔连线的成员。那第三个身份，我想最重要的一个身份是，我是个维吾尔人。那今天呢，我想有几个不同的讯息，我想传达出来。但我想今天的这个会议，国际会议很重要，也请允许我下边改用英语发言。Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having me here, and especially to my Uyghur friends, Assalamu alaikum. Hoş geldinizler. Bugün mundaq bir muhim bir yığınna bir kelgininglar tep rahmat. Memnun muşundaq kilaligimge özüm paqnadım rahmat sizlarga. I'll conduct my speech in English from now on, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm greeting you from Taiwan. This is we're in it's night in Taiwan now, and then I have three capacity in taking part in this virtual conference. The first capacity being a Chinese democracy activist. I have been I was a student leader back in Tiananmen, and then have been remaining as a Chinese democracy activist for the last 30-some years. And the other capacity that allow me to be in this conference is that I serve now as the Executive Deputy General Secretary of Taiwan Parliamentary Human Rights Commission. Madam Lai, who just gave us a speech, is one of the member of the Taiwan's parliament, and she is also the vice chairwoman of the Taiwan Parliamentary Human Rights Commission. As she has introduced, that we are currently working together, the Taiwan Parliamentary Human Rights Commission, and together with Ms. Lin, also a parliamentary member and then a member of our commission, working together in drafting Taiwan Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act. And good chances Taiwan is going to be the first Asian country to pass such an action, and then which we will employ sanctions against human rights abusers. Of course, we know where the human rights abusers, foreign human rights abusers, are going to coming from, especially those who wants to apply visas coming to Taiwan. We know which country they're going to be from now. And then we will implement the Taiwan Magnitsky Human Rights Act following other democracies who have already implemented such act. And we will exchange information and the list to ban. For instance, Canadian Parliament has already passed the Human Rights Magnitsky Act, and they have also provided us with a list of human rights abusers that Canada considered as to be sanctioned, including, of course, Chen Qianguo, the Party General Secretary of the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. My friends, my Uyghur friends today in this conference will have a problem with the name Xinjiang. It's understandably, and then I also would like to take this opportunity to explain why Uyghur people don't like the word Xinjiang. It has a clear colonial character. But from time to time, I do use this word to talk to my fellow Chinese democracy activists. When I have a chance to talk to Chinese people using this word, Xinjiang, because it's a clear evidence of colonization. Xinjiang in Chinese means new frontier. And it was given to this vast land no more than 150 years. It was given by Manchurian Qing dynasty when they finally concluded their occupation in Xinjiang, and then the Republic of China, the People's Republic of China, inherited that. And then when People's Republic of China, when the communist regime often talk about Xinjiang, they say it is an inalienable part of China from ancient time. That's their narrative. 中国政府常常喜欢说新疆是中国自古以来不可分割的一部分。Well, the inalienable part of China from ancient time is about 150 years. So this ancient time is a self-portrait evidence for this occupation and then colonization. So from time to time, I do use that term to talk to my fellow Chinese friends. And then I also know that my fellow Uyghur friends here in this panel today, there are distinguished human rights fighters and understand very well about the important alliance with the Chinese democracy movement. But I also know there are many other Uyghur friends around the globe. We have very little trust to Chinese people, including Chinese democracy movement. And then I'm hoping today I can take this opportunity, take this platform to send a message to my Uyghur friends around the globe that Chinese people love freedoms too. The Chinese people have demonstrated their strengths in fighting for freedom in the last many decades. And then I was honored to be part of it in 1989 and throughout until today. If Chinese people also loves freedom, they will understand our fighting for freedom. It's called empathy, especially when one day China have freedom of information. When the China become democracy and freedom of information can freely flow into China, they will, my Chinese friends, will have a good environment to debate the idea that have been indoctrinated in the past many years, and then they will realize how wrong the CCP regime have been, and then their propaganda has been, and then how wrong for them to believe in that. So, I want to send this message to my Uyghur friends, and then through you to the Uyghurs around the globe, that we should have more faith in our fellow Chinese friends, especially those who fight for democracies. I also have a message that I would like to send to my Chinese friends, that my Chinese democracy friends. Then they often say, you know, in China, the struggle between the Chinese people and the regime is universal and then applied to everywhere, also to Uyghur people. That is true. In China, the most important struggle is for freedom, is for democracy, is to overthrow this illegitimate regime. Once this Chinese Communist Party regime is overthrown, then we will have a much more friendlier and equal dialogue among Chinese and Uyghur people. But before that, I want my Chinese friends in this room today, especially like Wang Dan, who fought for democracy together, shoulder by shoulder with me in 1989. I also want our Chinese friends to understand one important thing, that to Uyghur people, it's not just fighting against a totalitarian regime. And sometimes, and more often than not, Han Chinese people are also our enemy. In Xinjiang, especially, or in China, before China become democratic, many of the Chinese today, by being a victim of the Chinese communist regime, at the same time an accomplice, joining the Chinese communist regime in oppressing Uyghur people. That we Uyghur people, that we Chinese democracy movement should be the one important element to tell our friends and to tell other Chinese people that, and then to own our responsibility to maybe explain or apologize to Uyghur, Tibetan, Mongolian, and other ethnic group peoples. And then I also have a message I would like to deliver to the world. And then here today we have like the presence of important international friends, international important audiences in today's panel. So that's also, especially I'm speaking in English to you people, that in the past, we have been saying that the freedom and democracy for Chinese and the Uyghur people is the main responsibility for we, the Chinese democracy activists, the Uyghur movement. We urge the world to take the right side, not the wrong side. Unfortunately, the world have been taking a wrong side. I happen to I hear earlier today when MP Ghani from United Kingdom, she expressed that, and then I also like to repeat that many times when I have the chance to speak in United Kingdom, I use the word appeasement to describe the China policy that you have the world have followed. It's a sensitive word, I understand. But today, in the 21st century, 2021, and then also our friend from Japan, he has also expressed that Japan took a wrong side after 1989 in his speech. I would like to say in the 21st century, it is no longer just Chinese democracy movements or Uyghur movements' responsibility to fight against the Chinese regime. It became the whole world's responsibility to defend the very civilization we're living in and then under direct threat from the Chinese regime. And you have been, if the world have been an accomplice or enabler of the Chinese communist regime, then you don't just, you don't just share the threat, you share a piece of blame. You have been an accomplice and helper, enabler for the situation to become what it is today. So therefore, it is your also our responsibility around the globe to right the wrong, and then to join force to defend not only for Uyghur people and the Chinese people for their freedom, but to the very freedom the whole world is living in, and then under very direct threat from all together from the same direction. That threat comes from Beijing, from Zhongnanhai, from Xi Jinping, and that threat is blind to race, to China, to citizenship, to Chinese people, to Taiwan, to Hong Kong, and allow me to emphasize this, to every citizen in the world. So it becomes our responsibility to join the fight, the long, difficult fight for the Chinese democracy movement and for Uyghur people, for Tibetan people. It becomes a task for the world. And again, thank you very much for this opportunity. I hope wherever you are living in this extraordinary time, living healthy and safe. Thank you. We're Kai-Shi signing off.
Thank you very much, Kai-Shi. I agree with you. Don't forget that the Han Chinese people are under the brainwash of the Chinese Communist Party since 1949. It's over 70 years. And most of the Chinese people are victims of this totalitarian regime. But through this brainwash, there is a blind patriotism, blind nationalism. So forgive us. So we try very hard as Han Chinese. We try very hard to come over this narrow-minded nationalism. Thank you for your speech. Our next speaker is Wang Dan. 他是大家都知道，他是天安门学运的领袖，他也是一位非常好的历史学者和人权人权活动家。王丹，请发言。
好，谢谢天琪邀请参加这次会议。好，那我觉得刚才听了前面的发言者的讲话，我都觉得都讲得非常好哈。其实把我原来准备想讲的一些话也都讲了，我就不在这里重复来耽误大家的时间了啊。那么我也就利用这个机会，其实我就提两个非常具体的建议哈，看就是在座的各位朋友能不能接受或者同意啊。第一个建议就是说，当然现在目前维吾尔族人遭受的这种迫害，在新疆发生的事情，这是令人非常担心的啊。那么现在需要的是一个全球性的一个强硬的一个反应。那么各国政府和各国的公民社会要做出强硬的反应，其实也需要我们来去做一些具体的推动工作。这个推动工作，当然我认为应该是各个不同的人权团体来自不同的方面的这种合作。那么这个不仅是需要我们有一个团结的这种心态哈，更需要有具体的这种协调的行为。然后就是我是一个主张做事情的人哈，那么我们怎么样具体的做？所以我的第一个建议就是说，就是像今天这样的一个研讨会啊，当然是很有必要。那么各种理念上的沟通啊等等，但是我还是希望我们能够尽快的哈， 有那种类似的不对外公开的、私下的组织与组织之间，我们坐下来详细的、具体的讨论一下，作为不同的团体、不同的组织，如何整合资源，如何互相协调行动，那么如何呢能够用一些更具体的做法，那么大家商量一下，看怎么做能够把我们的力量给集合起来，来更进一步推动国际社会对目前维吾尔族人受到的种族灭绝行为的这种抵制那这个是我的第一个建议就是不同的人权团体我们现在需要坐下来面对面的去沟通具体的做法不能仅限于理念上的这种沟通。第二个建议呢，就是说从我的角度来说我也认识很多这个汉族的这些朋友那我必须得承认，就是这方面汉族的朋友确实是有责任就是对发生在新疆的事情，对维吾尔族人的历史，其实是非常非常不了解的。那么我觉得很多的反共的这个中国的民运人士，他理念上当然是愿意支持所有的反抗专制的行为的，但是确实呢是出于一些对维吾尔族人历史上的这个不了解所以似乎表现的不是那么的积极。所以我觉得一个很迫切的任务就是双方的这种沟通，就是需要让汉族人更清楚的知道今天在新疆发生的事情，不仅是今天包括过去几十年来维吾尔族人的这个发展的历程。我觉得这个呢，坦率讲，不只是汉人的事情也是希望我在这里也是呼吁维吾尔族的朋友也要更积极的做这些事情。我们过去跟这个西藏流亡政府有非常密切的合作那么我觉得藏人流亡政府的一个做法，我在这里也推荐给就是维吾尔族的朋友就是他们就印刷了大量的这个中文的这种宣传，包括资助出版了很多的中文的书籍来介绍这个西藏过去的这些历史那么我现在看到的就是也许我孤陋寡闻但是我看到的这个关于维吾尔族人过去抗争的历史、受迫害的历史的相关的这种中文的这种书籍还不是特别的多。那么我在这里也是建议这个维吾尔族的朋友，如果有这个力量和意愿的话，其实能够有多一些相关的这些介绍这些书籍的出版、文章等等用中文让更多的汉族朋友去了解这些历史。我还记得我在台湾教书的时候，开西应该还记得我还邀请他这个到我们这个国立清华大学来跟这个中国的留学生进行对谈。那乌尔开西讲了很多这个维族人过去的故事，那些中国留学生听了是大吃一惊的，因为他们以前从来都没有听说过。那么我后来在跟他们听他们的反应的时候，他们都说听了之后受到的触动也是非常大的。所以我想这是一个很好的一个例子那么这是我邀请维吾尔族的，比如乌尔开西这样来跟汉族人讲。那么我也建议维吾尔族的人能不能多邀请一些汉族的朋友来听，或者来跟维吾尔族的朋友来听他们讲过去的历史办一些这样的，比如说培训营或者是一些交流营或者是一些演讲的活动。那么邀请汉人参加，让他们来了解这段历史。这是我的第二个建议就是我们维吾尔族朋友和汉族的人都双方应该共同有这个责任，共同做出努力，让更多的汉人朋友去了解维族的历史。以上就是我2个非常具体的建议那我的发言就到这儿，谢谢大家。
非常感谢王丹的这个说法，你的